If you can't tell, we have the VESL Vixens in the house today. Definitely our most well-branded crew that we've had. Definitely the highest energy. We're just having a bunch of laughs in here. Give us the call sign real quick. What's the call sign for the Vixens? We will fill in the blanks later as to when that might come into play. And so with 5 of us today, we had to rearrange and figure out how to do this all, but it was super cool, and I'm super stoked to have all 4 of you in here. I mean, getting the VESL Vixens together is pretty, it's not that hard these days. You guys are together all the time. And we will talk all about it. So quick introductions. We will talk about what a VESL Vixen is later, I promise. There will be much about it. You can see their branding on their Ben Did Go 9.0s. We will talk, it all comes together. So we have the wonderful VESL Vixens in the house. It's so fun. It makes me giggle. We've got Alyssa Norwood. We have Alice Toth. We have Ericka Primeau, and we have the other Wonder Twin. We have Keri Pommerenk. So we've got the Wonder Twins broken apart, but and I had to do a little footwork to figure out how do I tell them apart because they look so much alike. So super awesome to have you guys here. So the reason we're here is to talk about this incredible adventure, more than an adventure, this incredible thing that you guys did. Mm-hmm. And behind it is what you're wearing on your sweatshirts, which is what you did it for. We're going to go into all of it. We're going to find out what you did, why you did it, a little backstory on who you are, and what this whole event was all about. The whole greater good is all going to come out in this podcast. So I'm so stoked to have you guys here. And what's really fun is we've only known each other, well, some of us, we'll talk in a minute, but I've only known you guys for about the last 5 months. Mm-hmm. And during that 5 months, you guys have come so friggin' far in this endeavor, which again, we will dig deep into. So super fun to have you guys here. We're gonna go. So here's what we're gonna do today. Today we're gonna start at the beginning, a little bit more introductions. I'm gonna ask you guys to just give a little overview of yourselves. We're gonna talk about what you did, why you did it, how hard you had to work to do it, and then what the event was like and some of the reflections on it. Because there's so much packed into this this last 5-month period that's now got you all snuggled together like 4 little kittens, which is so freaking cute. So we're just gonna start right here with Alyssa. So here's what we want, ladies. You're gonna say, just if you would, a little bit about who you are, your family, and background. We're not going to talk about your why yet. We're going to get deep into the why, just a little bit. And because this is a big sport endeavor, which again, I haven't even shared what that is, share a little bit about your athletic background, but we're going to keep it really concise. But here's the last thing I'm going to ask, and I would never typically do it, but it frames who's in the room and what you guys accomplished. Would you share your ages?
Yes.
Okay, so name, age, a little bit about yourself.
Okay, Alyssa Norwood, and I'm 54. My background?
Yeah.
In sports. Okay, so I've always been an athlete, but never really great at anything. I tried everything. I have siblings that didn't do any sports. I was the only one in the family, so I was self-motivator. I don't even remember my parents showing up for many of my events, but I wanted to do everything, and I wanted to do the things that I was most afraid of.
Rad. Love that. And you want to talk about kids or whatever?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, remember.
I have 2 kids, Hayden and Lennox, 19 and 21. Both athletes, both surfers. I work out with my daughter every day. Hayden surfs for Volcom, and we're definitely a beach family.
Well, rad. Thanks. There's some of that in common here. Someone at this table has sandy feet from the contest at the beach this morning. So, okay, Alice.
My name is Alice Toth, not
Toth.
Toth.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not know that.
And I'm 52 years old. We're 52. Yes. And I live in Huntington Beach, and I have a son named Shad and my husband Scott. And as far as athletic background, I'm not a water woman. Actually, the ocean was kind of a scary place for me. So doing this is completely brand new, something in the water. My husband surfs. My son is a lifeguard, so they're both super comfortable in the water, but not me. I have more of a background in running. I like to backpack, hike, bike ride, kind of things like that.
Land-based.
Not very adventurous.
Land-based.
I mean, hiking, backpacking and stuff can be adventurous, but, high school swimmer, volleyball player,
Got
but
it.
aside
Common
from
theme
that,
here.
yeah.
We got some athletes in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Ericka.
Ericka Primeau. I am 51, which I just realized I'm the little baby.
you are.
Oh. And let's see, I married. My husband is, he's surfer. He moved to California. He didn't grow up surfing here because we were in Washington. But he started, like the second he moved here, he started surfing. So now he's been surfing for, like 30 years. Both our boys we raised here. One's in college. He's 18. The other one's 15 at Newport Harbor in sophomore. They're both avid surfers. Myself, not so avid surfing. I actually thought I was going to be a kick-ass surfer in my 20s, and then I had a really scary experience, and it kind of took me out of the water. From surfing, actually, it totally took me out of the water from surfing. I'd like boogie board because I felt in control, but surfing, oh heck no. So we're definitely a very beach-driven family. We travel the world surfing and have, super adventures, but I'm usually the one in the whitewash boogie boarding in front of them or hiking some mountain nearby or, something else. But I've been an athlete for sure.
I also heard you
throughout.
talk about an Ironman. So you've got some big
yes,
stuff
yes,
behind
I've
you.
done a few things.
Couple things.
that, yeah. No, I've definitely been an athlete my whole life. Like, as a kid, I played like a million sports. And then in college, I was a rower. And then post-college, got into more endurance sports, marathons and the triathlon and
Got
the
it.
Ironman and mountain climbing thing, or whatever, peak climb. What do you call that? If you go to the top of Whitney or something. Whatever. Climb that stuff. So yes,
Outstanding.
I like
Cool.
being physically active.
Awesome.
Yes.
And Keri.
Yeah.
Oh, my name's Keri Pommerenk. I am 20.
You're finally 21.
Baby.
Oh my God, we're taking you out tonight.
I'm 52, just like Alice. Alice and I are twins, and I have a husband, Steve, and a son, Evan, and a daughter, Ellie. Ellie's a junior in high school, and Evan is actually just graduated high school, and he's on an adventure trip through Bali and Southeast Asia right now.
Hallelujah.
I know, jealous, I'm super
Yeah.
jealous. Like Alice, I swam in high school. I actually played water polo in high school. And interestingly enough, in Anaheim, California, there were no girls' water polo teams. And so I played on the boys' team. I was the first
wow.
girl to play on the boys' team.
Oh my gosh.
And just to keep in shape for swimming. And then after high school, didn't do much of anything. And then I got really into backpacking and hiking, and so I became a backpacker. I've climbed Kilimanjaro, Whitney, John Muir Trail, that kind of thing. So I've always wanted to do big adventures, when I had the time. But other than that, no real sports. Yeah. And
I think what you just described counts as sport
I
and
agree.
experience.
it's just
and-
fun.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
it's fun, but
Adventure seeker.
adventure and a lot of work and not
Yeah.
scared to do something big and probably drawn towards doing something big.
Yes.
I think that's, you don't do Ironman, you don't do all these things you're talking about. You also have a big stand-up background too,
Yeah.
don't you, Alyssa? So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of athletic background here, but it leads us into this thing that you decided to do for different reasons that is different. It's very different. And I love the fact that and again, we'll talk about how you're all like this tight little kitten pack right now, but you weren't always, right?
No.
So let's talk about what this event was, and then what was it? Well, let's talk about. You're wearing it on your sweatshirts. The Ben Did Go. Why don't you talk about what the Ben Did Go is? I'll fill in the blanks if need be, but let's talk about the Ben Did Go, and then we'll talk about why it was so captivating for you.
Yeah.
Anybody?
You want to explain it?
I'll start. The Ben Did Go is Ben Carlson Foundation puts on a paddle from Avalon to Newport Beach every year. It's a 30-mile channel crossing of the Catalina Channel, and it raises a lot of money for ocean safety, lifeguards, internationally, local. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and our kid, all three of our boys are ocean lifeguards, active right now. So that played a big role because it's something we want to give back to that means a lot. And being in this community, if you've been here, you know that the Ben Did Go is significant and a really, it means a lot. So to be able to contribute and give back into that is a big honor for sure.
Yeah, and when I first heard about Ben, my son was a junior lifeguard. His
yeah,
first year,
same,
he was 8
same.
years old, and that was the year Ben died, and I cried. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know this guy, but I had a little junior guard, and he's now an ocean lifeguard. And
Yeah.
I'm so proud.
Yeah.
I'm such a
Here comes your tissue.
I'm such a proud mom. And, you know, just I know what it takes and what it means to be an ocean lifeguard, and hearing his story. Well, so I remember when he passed away. And then, you know, fast forward last year, Keri's son started training for the Ben, and I didn't even know it was even existed. What's that? And paddleboarding. And so that's how we got reintroduced to Ben and, you know, more about his story and stuff. So
Rad.
that was cool.
That's awesome. So a little bit more. So what craft? So we talked about the Ben Did Go is the fundraising paddle for the Ben Carlson Foundation. This was the 9th year, and you were just talking about Ben passed in 2014, did his final rescue in some humongous surf in Newport Beach, was the only lifeguard in the last 100 years to lose his life on duty. Incredible guy, and there's actually quite a few podcasts I've done with his family, with Ben Carlson members. Spencer Purdy is who started the Ben Did Go 9 years ago. So this was the Ben Did Go 9.0. What craft did you guys paddle? What is the craft that people paddle on? For anybody that doesn't know this and they're learning about it, there's kayaks, there's all this stuff. That's not what we're on. Talk about what we paddled.
Yeah, seriously, I didn't even know what a paddleboard was until, because I knew Evan was, you know, training for this paddle, and I remember I was running down in Huntington Beach along the cliffs, and I saw her son and his friend, and they were going out for a training paddle, and I was like, oh, that's what it is? It's like, it's hard. I assumed it was like a paddleboard, like a stand-up paddleboard. I don't know why I thought that. But I just didn't have a concept of what a paddleboard was. A 12, 14, sometimes bigger, you know, hard board that you lay on your stomach and you paddle with your arms. And it was a lot girthier and taller than I thought it was.
Same.
It's like a personal little canoe. So
Yeah, if people, I'm sorry, go on.
that was, you know, it's and it's hard to describe what it is.
Yeah. So, and if you can imagine, you're paddling this thing like a surfboard. So you're just with your arms, you will go up on your knees, maybe.
If you're in the harbor. Or if you're really good. Next year.
Maybe next year.
I did it
But
this year. I didn't do it during the
that's
problem.
okay. So, and we had 94 paddlers this year. This is the 9th year. It's a big fundraising group paddle. It's not a race, big distinction. There are many races that do the channel crossing, but this is a group paddle. We try to keep everybody together. We do qualifying paddles to keep everybody together. And again, the Ben Carlson Foundation is a water safety, drowning prevention organization. It's a nonprofit that supports, as you said, lifeguards and locally, nationally, internationally. So water safety is awfully important. So we have a very robust safety protocol, and we will talk about what that takes in qualifying for this, because everybody had to go through that. It was a big learning curve for everyone, but just incredible. It's an incredible event, and it's powerful. And to your point, like, it is a powerful event to be a part of. It's one thing to even see it, but to be a part of this, to raise money for this organization across that channel, and it's no joke, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's insane.
We talked a lot about it being no joke over the last 5 months. So very, very cool. So one last piece of this, and we're going to get into your whys. You all said earlier, and thank you for sharing, you're all over 50. So part of this, it's almost like a public service announcement. It's never too late to go do something. To do something big and badass.
Or no matter how scared you are of the ocean.
Yeah.
Me,
I was not an ocean person.
my motto was feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, super powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm going to shine a light on this too. If anybody was to want to go run a marathon, you can go online and find the 6-month protocol, the 1-year protocol, the 18-month protocol. That's 26 miles of running.
Yeah.
To go paddle the channel, which is 30 miles, you guys did it in how much time? How much did you train?
You guys
did
trained
5
different.
months.
Yeah.
And listened
So-
over 4.
Yeah.
because
You
we
bit
started
off
end of May.
a lot.
And
Yeah.
we thought it's 5 months away. We got plenty of time.
Well, we're going to talk more about it, but
yeah.
I just wanted to shine a light on the fact that it is a big undertaking.
Yeah.
And to do that, there's got to be a big source of motivation. You talked a bit about the importance of it and why it impacted you, but let's talk a little bit more about your whys. Like, why do this thing? Who wants to start?
I could start.
Yeah. Alyssa, you kick it off.
So at the beginning of this year, I decided I wanted to do something that was going to really challenge my mind and my body. At this age, you kind of have done all the things. And, at age, you turn 40, or, let's back up, like, you get married, you have kids, you turn 40, you turn 50, and then it's like, kind of like, you've hit all the milestones. So, like, everything's kind of over. There's no more spotlight on you for anything anymore. And not that.
Hold on, with that hat on,
Except for now.
Big spotlights on you.
Yeah. And not that you need that, but you want to kind of be relevant still. I just, as you get older, you're kind of the
you wanna
relevancy
matter,
kind of,
like,
yeah. So I had some friends that had done it, and I talked to Cole, Ericka's son, and JoJo Whalen, and I reached out to you in December, okay, and I was like, I want to do this. And, I didn't think about how cold the water was at that time. I didn't even have a board yet. I didn't know what kind of board to get. I knew what the boards looked like. I knew where to get them. I knew to go to Mikey at VESL. But I just wanted to do something that, I just wanted to do something big that I just kind of felt like, okay, I'm doing something to raise awareness, something that gives back to the community. And I wanted to do something that I was honestly afraid of. Mm-hmm. I mean, fear motivates me, definitely. And do I keep going from there? I mean, I definitely have more. But so I actually I got a board in January, but that board never hit the water until end of May. Our sons are in a band together, and we were at one of the shows, and I don't know how I was talking to Cole about it. So I said, okay, Cole, do you think I can do this? And he's like, oh yeah, for sure. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this. And like you said, I do have a background in stand-up paddle. So,
but more importantly, the why was you wanted to do something hard, and you wanted to feel relevant, and you wanted to give back. Is that what I understand?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump the shark, but I'm guessing that's the way you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's just move it down the line.
Same thing for me. I looked at my life. I have an awesome family, a job that I love, and you get to a certain age and you're like, well, is this it? And so
the answer to that is no for anybody that's wondering.
Exactly. In case anybody's wondering.
Keri and I,
Just the beginning.
we talk about doing something epic. We, just to push ourselves, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then, then it was the Ben. It was like, okay, yeah, this is super scary. And can we do it? This is crazy. Like I said, I'd never been on a board. I'd never seen a board. And we went out. Mikey took us out the first time to test some boards, and I bought a board the next day, and here we are. So it was the epic adventure for me, and something that seemed really, really hard, but we could do it. So
Yeah.
Love that.
For me, I was on support crew for Ben 7 and 8 for my husband and son. And I believe on 7, they were the first father-son to make the crossing.
Which is so cool.
It was so cool. And from that perspective, you're on the boat and you're like cheering them on and you're keeping them going. And it's so emotional. And I remember even being in Avalon in the second year, everyone's just kind of paddling around having fun. And I'm like, how are they even having fun? They have to get on 30 miles tomorrow. I'm like, simmer down, people. And then I remember like, let me get on that thing. Let me try it. And I got on. I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I can't. This is so hard. Like, I don't know how you guys do this. And then somebody asked me, would you ever do that? I'm like, no, never. This is way too hard. So that's the first 2 years, and it was elating being a part of it from support crew. And not only are you helping your own family, but I mean anybody who's coming by. You need a banana, you need this, you need that. It's very, it's so soul fueling to give to this huge group while everyone's crossing. So that was really fun. And then my family, we went to Nicaragua, and we'd been toying with the idea of, let's get the whole family involved. And we were in Nicaragua, and literally watched somebody get saved from the ocean as a direct effect from the Ben Carlson Foundation, because they had placed people in there and training them, and then it was just an aha moment for me where I was like, okay, I need to dig deeper, and how am I going to give? How am I going to? My son's an ocean lifeguard. I've supported this twice, but how can I get in it bigger? How can I help more? And And so then toyed more with it. And then Cole had come home and he's like, hey, Alyssa was going to train for the Ben. And I was like, oh, well, there's someone I could train with. Okay, well, maybe I can do this. And then it kind of went from there. You know, husband took me out on a dark, stormy day because he's like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? I'm like,
let's test her.
Yeah, right. He was like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, we made the schedule. We're going. Like, I'm just a little bit nutball. So we went, and it was 3 miles of hell, and I loved it. I was like, it was so hard, but I'm freezing. I'm going to die. I'm freezing. From day one, freezing. Anyway, then we got together and we kept going, and I was kind of hooked right from that crazy first experience. And then Cole took us out to try it on in a much sunnier, beautiful environment. And then it was really hooked. And then here we are. It grew and catapulted.
Rad.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love
All
that.
right, I'm up.
Keri's up.
Yeah, the very first. So Evan was training to paddle. Evan's a third year lifeguard for state. And he was training with his friends last year. And he ended up getting hurt a few weeks before, and so couldn't paddle, but he was support crew for his buddies. And so, of course, we're gonna go out on the pier that day and watch everyone paddle in. And we're seeing them come in, and we're trying to find, oh, there's Graydon, there's Keenan, da-da-da. And they came in, and I'm just getting all choked up and teary-eyed. I was like, oh my goodness, it came over me. And I just blurted out, I'm doing this next year. I'm like, and everyone's looking at me like, sure you are. And then I forgot about it, seriously. And springtime rolls around, Evan's fingers are healed, and he's like, all right, Mom, let's get you out on the paddleboard because you're doing the Ben. Oh, that's right. And so, Mikey, Evan took me out. We borrowed a friend's board, and we tried to go around Lido, which is ridiculous now. We tried to go around Lido, and he's like, you can't stop, just keep your arms moving. And so I'm like, give me a chance here. But that first one hooked me, and talked to Alice, and we met with Mikey. He showed us some boards, and like I said, a couple of days later, we're buying boards and training for the Ben. And that was kind of how it came to that point, but there's a little bit more at that time in my life. They've said, you needed something a little bit more. And our family has some challenges with our daughter who's got mental health issues, and we had been dealing with that for a few years, and I really just wanted to show her that you could do hard things. I wanted to show myself that I could still do hard things. It had been a few years before me and Evan had hiked the John Muir Trail. And that was 4 years earlier, so I hadn't done really anything in that time. And then menopause was hitting, and you're falling off the cliff with that, so you're trying to figure out, this, that, and the other. And then it was just a culmination of, this is the time. This is the time to just get back, in the saddle and get your life back on track. And so the training for the Ben was exactly what I needed at the exact time with Alice. And that's how we came into it. It was just like, thank goodness I had Evan pushing me. Thank goodness I had the things in my life that were leading up to that. And it was just, all right, I can do it. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
I never thought, can I do this? I know Alice did. Alice was just like, I don't know if I can do this. And I'm like, we can do this. And you just put your mind to it and you do it. And just like, I know I can. How do I get to that point?
Yeah,
I do a lot of visualizing. I'm like, I can manifest anything. Like seriously, in my life, I can manifest anything. If I want it, I just think about it, and boom, it happens. And I've taught my kids, same thing. It doesn't matter how you're gonna get there, you just know where you wanna be, and it'll fall into place. The universe will
Pieces come together.
show you the way.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with the Ben. I mean, it really did.
If I could, I would bottle that and sprinkle that over
Yeah.
everybody I know.
Yeah.
That was a great, Keri, thank you for that. That was
Yeah.
very cool. And part of the thing about any endurance sport, at least in my experience, especially when you're out there, well, let's talk a little, I'll get right back to that comment. 30 miles of prone paddling is not 30 miles of running.
No,
The Ben
not even
Carlson,
close.
the Bended Go stays at 4 miles an hour. Group paddle, everybody stays together. That's the intent, 4 miles an hour. So extrapolate it out. This is 8+ hours on the ocean together with 94 other people. But in all the training, which we're going to talk about, the 4 of you together, you have a lot of time to talk. You have a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
You have a lot of time to process. In a lot of endurance sports, that happens. I always say, and my friends would say, as long as I have somebody to talk at, I can paddle all day or run all day or whatever. It's a very cathartic thing, flow state, whatever. But a lot of mental processing happens, at least for me, out there. And you guys were all very kind to share what you just did, but you also shared with me something we called the VESL Vixen variant. We had worked through some what ifs, right? And
Yeah.
you came up with your whys and you shared them with me. And they were like chicken skin. So thank you for sharing that. Keri, you just shared a bit of it. But there's also other things that we all work through, which we don't need to talk about, that you can really make a lot of headway on it when you're out there for
Oh, yeah.
hours on end by yourself. And even if you're together, if you're 20 feet away,
Yeah.
you can be in your own space. Now, if you need to call for someone, how do you call for someone? But the rest of the time, you can be in your head.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's really good, and sometimes it's really not good.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you need to go yip yip and get over to your friends and have somebody to talk to and get out of whatever dark spot. It's easy on endurance sports to go dark if you're not feeling good that day, which we'll talk about some of the training stuff. So again, thank you for sharing that. Some pretty powerful whys. And I'm just so proud and grateful that you guys chose this as your vehicle, or it chose you
Yeah.
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 to
It
make
did,
this
yeah.
part of your
I feel like we just
campaign.
found it.
Really neat.
Yeah.
So tell me this real quick, family. When you first said, now some of you, your family have done it, and it sounds like they were all very supportive, but there must have been some like, yeah, sure. Or what about your parents or your kid? Like someone must have gone, are you freaking crazy? Any interesting, like you've had some support clearly, but what about other comments you may have had?
No, I have one because I decided that I wanted to get in shape, like the whole menopause, and it's important to do like strength training, and I've never been a gym girl, and so I joined the gym, and I probably went to the gym 7 times, and a year membership, and I'm just not a gym rat. I just can't do that. And then I decided once again, I don't want to get Alzheimer's. I got to play an instrument, and so I decided to play the ney, which is
Hold on.
All things
Hold
you
on.
choose
the ney,
Hold
which
on.
is
What's a ney?
an Egyptian flute.
Oh,
And I bought it from the Middle East, and I waited like 6 weeks for it, and I was so
God, you're so
excited.
good.
And so, but these are things that were like really important to me. And so when my
you traded in your knee?
my
Nay
nay
for a prone paddleboard. Hallelujah.
So my husband and my son, when I came home, and I'm like, I'm paddling the bend. I'm going to go buy a board. And they're like, so this is like the gym and the nay and, things that you never followed through with. And I'm like, of course.
Oh.
And then my husband's like, well, at least you can sell it and get some money back. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do that.
The gauntlet was dropped at your feet.
That's where it was. And they were extremely, extremely supportive, but they were just like, sure you are. This is like
Right.
something you're going to do and then you're not going to do. And even when we were paddling, I remember once Alyssa said to me, so is this like a one and done for you? And this was in the thick of training. And I'm like, hell yeah. I said, after the bend, I become a social paddler.
Bay dweller.
If at all. But now
If at
it's
all.
like, I can't wait for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely can't wait for next
Yeah.
year. It is not like the nay. It is not like the gym. I'm a paddler now.
Hallelujah. I love
That's
that.
so good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you probably have the best story on that.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm glad. It's interesting. Your hobbies all have like less than 4 letters. Nay,
yeah.
gym, vessel,
Yeah.
And yoga.
and yoga.
And
all right.
yoga, there you go.
4-letter words are not so bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other family stuff, comments, or anyone that just said, "Are you fucking crazy? Are you?" A lot of them.
Okay, I have something here. So I am a gym girl, and so when I decided I was going to do this, I told everybody, okay, I'm doing this, and people started asking me, so have you gone paddled yet? And I was all, no, I haven't even put the board in the water yet. And then, my kids, of course, but everybody was like, oh, well, of course you're going to do this, Alyssa, and I was like, oh my gosh, that means I actually have to do this now because I'm telling people I'm doing it, and now they really expect me to do it.
Yeah.
And when I told my kids I was going to do it, my daughter definitely knew, like, yep, she's going to do it. But Hayden, I'm not so sure because when I would surf with him, I would just go after anything, and he would be like, oh my God, there goes my mom again. She's just like going after any wave, getting bubbled all the time. And so he was like questioning, could she really do this? And then as I was training, he was like, I would be like, oh, I did 8 miles today. Oh, I did 10 miles today. And he's like, oh my gosh, Mom, you're actually going to do this. And I'm like, I actually am. And then there is one other thing. During my first qualifier, if I may.
Well, okay.
Or can I go there?
We are going to
Okay.
we're going to go training, and then we're going to go qualifiers.
Okay.
So, what's interesting is your kids all have water backgrounds. So they knew, and your husbands in some cases knew about what prone paddling was, right? So they knew what you were getting into, and they knew how hard that may or may not be for you.
Yeah.
But it's not like you were going to go run a marathon and they've never run the marathon, or play a nay and they'd never play a nay. Nobody knows how hard that is.
Yeah.
But in this case, they knew exactly what you were getting into, and for them to be super supportive and go, yeah, Mom, you can do it. It's pretty rad for them to have that belief that you guys could do this, which is, because I bet a lot of people go, hold on. Because even people I know go, you do what?
Yeah.
Prone paddling?
Yeah.
There's a reason it's been called the pain stick for a long time. It's of all the endurance sports, I'll frame it for anybody. If you've run a marathon, the record in the marathon is 2 hours, or hair under 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
The Catalina Classic record, 32 miles, was just set this summer by Jack Bark. 32 miles, 4 hours and 53 minutes is the record. Prior to that, 5 hours had never been broken. So just for context, I always say, if you're more about the Ben and prone paddling, if you're a marathon runner and you're having a bad day, you can sign up for another marathon next weekend anywhere in the world. If you're having a bad day while you're running, you can walk. If you're having a really bad day, you can call an Uber. You can sit on the curb.
Out. Yeah.
If you're having a bad day while you're prone paddling and you sit up, you are a buoy.
Yeah.
There's no forward momentum. You're on your own. And the other big one that I always talk about is, if you're running a marathon, most marathons, it's going to be on a road, and the road is predictable. Even if it's rainy or windy, the road is flat in front of you.
Yep.
The ocean is never guaranteed what you're going to get. We'll talk about it, because you saw a lot of elements of the ocean out there, which you always will do on that channel crossing.
Yeah.
So it's so different. Again, 5 hours versus 2 hours. So it's a much harder sport in many, many respects than just about anything else.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of endurance space.
I've done Ironman, and this is by far the hardest that I bit off. When are you going to eat? How do you keep calories going? How do you digest when you're on your stomach? Yeah. How do you deal with the beast of the ocean that's knocking you over? And all of it, everything about it is harder. And it was something different.
One bonus, there is a huge bonus.
What's that bonus?
You can pee whenever you want.
Oh, that is such a... Oh, actually, in the Ironman, you can too.
You just don't have to
Just let it
stop.
rip.
You can just go.
No, that's true.
And it's kind of our thing.
Yeah.
It's we're just so it's like you can just pee whenever you want.
But then it becomes a bad habit. You're on land, and you're like... Oh,
Not while you're sitting in the pod.
No, I can't.
Not while you're sitting in the
No,
podcast
just
studio
on
together.
The board.
Yeah.
Just
That's on the board.
Proning
So
is a
we're
beast
going to
to
talk
have.
about training and the qualifiers,
Yeah.
and they're hand in hand.
Yeah.
But real quick, earlier before we got on here, some of you had mentioned the benefits as athletes or athletic backgrounds, how it was different for your bodies. Tell me some of the takeaways from training on a prone paddleboard.
Well, for me, I've actually never felt so healthy in my life. I've done a lot of athletic endeavors for sure. And I mean, even talking about the Ironman and training, and I, probably didn't do the proper training. I'm a little bit more I'm going to go do that and then just do it. I knew for this, hands down, there was not going to be a moonlighting the Ben.
There's no cheating a prone paddle crossing.
No, there's absolutely not. And it was very interesting. My body completely shifted, and I think I lost at least 12 pounds. And it just, everything shifted totally differently and unlike any other sport that I've ever seen.
Yeah, so
It's very
she
bizarre.
lost 12 pounds. I gained 9 pounds.
Wow.
8 for me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gained too, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And granted, I was on the thinner side coming into this, and I like to think that I gained muscle.
Yeah.
But and the amount of calories that I was eating, I have never eaten like that before, because I had to shift my focus into eating just okay, I have to eat because I'm going to paddle today, and I need the energy to sustain that paddle.
Yeah.
So it was
It's like total fuel instead of
Well, you
just-
also
Exactly.
burn a ton of calories when you're cold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ericka? Ericka's always cold.
I'm the most cold person of the group for sure.
That's why she's sitting between the Wonder Twins. Stay warm.
Middle, stay warm.
Well, I had been going to the gym. Like, unlike Alice, I did join a gym. There's a little She Rocks in Huntington Beach, just like a little women's fitness in and out in 40 minutes. And I was never a gym person until I started going there, and I fell in love with it like I did paddling, like start a couple of days a week, then I was going 5 days a week, and I did that for several years, and, but same thing, I was always looking at my weight. I started going to the gym so that I could be, toned and fit and skinny and, still kind of look good. Getting the strength and all the health benefits was secondary for me. Like, I just wanted to look good.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that, and then training for the Ben was much different. Like, there was a mental shift. I was YouTubing, what do you eat, carb loading, all this and that. And in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm an endurance athlete now. Like, I seriously was like, I'm not just someone who wants to get fit and skinny. I need to eat and train for what I'm doing. And once I did that, I stopped thinking about, how I looked, but just what do I need to do to get across the channel.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten so much food in my life, and I loved it.
crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
that was one of the things I'm like, oh, when the Ben's over, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
Like,
just
I'm
keep
like,
paddling.
oh.
Just keep
And I'm like, I'm like,
Well,
we're gonna have to keep
and on-
paddling.
Yeah.
On one of those paddles, we had a conversation that came up. And so thanks for sharing that again. So, and I had even said, listen, instead of getting on that scale and looking at the number, have someone take a picture of your back
Oh, yes.
after one of these paddles, drop it anywhere you need some motivation, put that photo on there, because that's the outcome of doing this.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Super
my-
proud
yeah,
of you guys.
My chiropractor, I went in a few days before the bank, had a little neck tweaky thing, and I hadn't seen him for a while because I used to go to him quite often. But when you're paddling and the position you're in, once your back stops hurting when you first start going,
Yeah.
if you can
Yeah.
get through your back aching and your shoulders aching, you get into the paddling, and he was like, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Your back
get
is
so strong.
amazing. You're strong. He's like, we got that tweaky thing in your neck, but everything else is great. I was like,
Yeah.
And then I thought, that's right, my back doesn't hurt anymore. When you
Yeah.
feel good, then
Yeah.
you're like, I am gonna keep paddling.
Strength
Yeah.
and muscle
Yes.
development
Yeah,
solves a lot of
huge.
those problems, right?
Oh,
Well,
totally.
let's keep going down this. This is awesome. Let's talk about the training, because you guys, as I said earlier, you didn't take the 18-month, 12-month protocol. You took the 4 to 5 month protocol to do. I mean, that in its own right, I would have said, and I may have said it,
You did say.
maybe you need to plan for
have.
2025
Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of 2024.
You don't say that to
Yeah.
the VESL Vixen.
Yeah. The king
At that
motivator.
time, you might have needed it.
Yes.
But let's talk about training and how you went from never being on a prone paddleboard before to starting to feel confident and building up the miles, because you guys did a lot of miles in a short amount of time to
Yeah.
prepare for this. So let's talk about that whole path. What did it feel like? What did you learn? What was the hardest part, maybe? Just talk about your takeaways from training.
Well, first of all, the training, we were training 4 days a week. We did 4 days a week. We did Mondays, and then Wednesday with Wet Wednesday, and then we would do Friday with the Prones Brigade, and then we would do a long one on the weekend. It became a part-time job. Like,
Yeah.
my work definitely
Suffered a little bit?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did suffer a little bit, definitely. But it was worth it. I mean, it was like, that's all I wanted to do was just to paddle.
Yeah.
And I work out every morning. I'll do a strength class and a spin class, and then we'd go paddle. And for me, I just noticed that was like I had to back off somewhere. My body, I gained because my body was in such stress all the time. I was holding on to everything. But I just wanted to do all this training together. I mean, that's what, like, every day I was like, hey, we're gonna go train together. And
Yeah.
we have a thread that
Who's
it's
going where, when?
Yeah, who's paddling
Yeah.
where? Who's going out? And
I think a little bit too. It's like ignorance is bliss. Like, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Yes.
So we're like,
Yes.
oh, like she and I start May 26th, and we're like, okay, I guess we just go out for like 8 miles. So we did. So we're just paddling around for 8 miles. Like, I don't know, they just said keep going. So we're just going to keep going. And eventually we talked to a lot more people and we learned how to do it. But you're kind of learning as you go. Like, I mean, I never doubted that I was going to do it. I mean, I was like, I'm definitely doing it. I don't care what it takes. I'm doing this. Like, that's fine. And then, that's why we're like, well, let's just start with 8. I mean, you can't, like, what's 3 going to do? That's not going to help us do it. We bit off like crazy things. But then we just kept kind of conquering it. And then it started forming better, like, okay, maybe we should, this many miles, this, the long ones on the weekend. And it eventually took shape. But it was definitely we didn't know really anything that we were doing. And then we started like soaking it in and learning from everybody around us to try and figure out how much should you paddle if you're going to try and do this.
But how long, and then we'll keep moving, but how long did it take, or maybe incorporate it in your answer, like how long did it take from feeling like an absolute novice, like I've never been on a prone paddleboard before, not really a surfer, to like feeling like I'm a paddler now, I get my, like I'm feeling it, I can go 5 miles without, like you find different muscle groups in prone paddling than anything else. I don't care if you're a surfer or a swimmer, it hits differently. Some of that is why you build that strength. So include in there how it felt to progress.
I know so when we started off with our boards at VESL, Mikey was the first one to say, you guys can do it. He wanted to sell us boards, I don't know.
Mikey Roberts.
I truly believe that Mike Roberts believed in us and believed in it. And so he was the very first one. So Alice and I are, out there, we did not paddle 8 miles our first one. We paddled around Lido again, Yeah. And then one of the first people we met within the first couple of weeks, we're over on Lido, we get out, and this guy comes walking up to us with a little postcard. He's like, hey, I never see you guys out here. Don't see a lot of women. Do you think you might want to paddle in the El Moro Classic? It's coming up, in June. And we're like, oh, what's that? And we're like, yeah, we read it, and it was Bill.
Bill Lafferty.
Yeah. And he was great. He's like, we're like, oh, we're new, and this and that. He's like, you can totally do it. So I loved that because that gave us a mini goal. So you have your big goal, but you have these little mini goals along the way. Yeah. And I didn't know what to expect, I'll tell you that. And the waves were not, or the ocean was not kind that day.
Were awful. You guys had the worst.
And I didn't make it. Mile 11, I think I had seasickness. I got on the support boat and he scooped me up and I threw up once I got on, and he's goes over to Alice and he's like, hey, you need some help? And she's like, nope, I'm gonna keep going.
I saw Keri on that boat and I wanted to get on the boat so bad. And I was like, he's like, you wanna come on? And I said, nope. And then I'm in my head, I'm like, but of course I do. And I just put my head down and I just kept paddling. And I thought, oh, poor Keri, she's on the boat. And what was even better was after the guilt that she had. She was just like, I can't believe I got on the boat. I can't believe I did that. And I just felt so horrible for her. And I'm like, I will never get on the boat. I can't, I can do it.
Getting on that boat
was hard.
That's another lesson in training.
Yeah.
Getting on that boat was like, I will never do that again, And then along the way, Wet Wednesdays. So this is when you ask for the shift of when,
So these are Wednesday night group paddles in Lido put on by VESL Paddleboards, Mike Roberts.
Yeah.
Newport Beach Prone Paddle Club. Yep. And there's the group of guys, we got Brittany. Brittany is another gal out there. It was me, Alice, and Brittany. And at first, until the girls joined, and they kept their 4 mile an hour pace, and you're just like, you're going as fast as you can, and you can't keep up, and you can't keep up. And the day I kept up, so they'd take a couple of breaks. It's a 6 mile loop through the harbor. And when they got to the first bridge and I could take a break, I was like, yes, I did it. I did it. You can keep up with the group. And I think it was Greg. Greg goes, you don't get breaks. You earn them or something like that. Breaks are earned, not given.
Right.
And so that's where I felt like, okay, I'm with the boys now. Like, I can do this. Yeah. And I know when the first time Brittany kept up with the boys, and she's just like, yes, everyone gets that feeling.
Right.
So, and then I think the next time was the 20 mile paddle we did was, that was
eye-opening?
Eye-opening, yeah. It was eye-opening for a lot more than others. But after that paddle, if I had any doubts that I could make it, they were gone.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, bring it on. Another 10 miles? I could do another 10 miles.
Yes, I love that mindset.
Yeah.
Again, and that's a lot of what the endurance sports takes a mindset. There's a reason that a lot of people with somewhat, not saying that anybody here does, but like there's a lot of people that come out of addictive worlds get so addicted
Yeah.
to endurance sports because
Sure.
it takes similar mindset and you get so focused on it. But all those little progressive pieces, right? Those 1% improvements, it goes a long way. I love those milestone parts. You're like, oh, I made it to the bridge. I could keep up. Oh, like that's what it takes.
And
Yeah.
then meeting the girls.
Yeah.
I mean,
Huge
seriously.
motivator.
Maybe someone else wants to talk about our meeting in the harbor. But
Yeah.
The creation of the VESL
Yeah,
Vixens.
that
was-
Let's tell the story.
That truly was pivotal for our training
Yeah.
and all of us coming together, because now we had more people to paddle with. But it was the day Keri and I were we had going to the ocean at that point was
That was a big deal.
very big deal. When we first started paddling, it was strictly in the harbor, and we thought we have got to get in the ocean. And so we would go to just the mouth of the wedge and we were just like, and right past the wedge, we're like, we're in the ocean, we're in the ocean.
One roller, now get out.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're like, okay, back in the harbor. And then the next time we would go out to the buoy. Now we were out to the buoy. And then we came back. And then the first time you go past and start, along the coast, it's a big deal. But one of those days, Keri and I were headed out to the wedge, and we were heading out, and we saw two girls coming back. And from a distance, you could see them across the bay. We were like, oh, look at more paddlers. And then you're like, oh, they're girls. And then we're like, I think they're old too. Like they're like us. I mean, seriously. And
Not
so we
old.
paddled close together, and then we were shouting across the way, "Are you coming to Wet Wednesday?" And she's like, "No, my son's graduating this week." And we're like, "Oh my gosh, they have kids that are graduating too. They are our age." And so we.
But first you asked if we're doing the classic, and we're like, hell no.
It was like our
That's
second
right.
time.
Can't look at or the
Not the
moral
classic, the
classic.
moral
Yeah,
classic.
moral
Yeah.
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 And so then we just across the bay shouting made plans to hook up at Wet Wednesday,
Fun.
and
Yeah.
here we are.
And look
Yeah.
at you all
Here we
dressed
are.
like a foursome, right?
Yeah.
And listen, let me
We've
just
been
say that.
solid ever since.
The VESL Vixen, it's so fun having you guys here because, again, we've talked about what you've done, how you've done it, but like this has been, we're going to talk about the community because you're now part of the paddling community, which is amazing, right? And embraces everybody that gets into it. But I mean, come on, look at you guys. It's so fun.
No, I
but
do want
you've-
to say that the Newport Beach Prone Paddling Club, they took us in.
Yeah, 100%.
It was awesome. We could ask them questions, and they were always so supportive and welcoming. And
How do you get to the?
Yeah.
How do you get through these waves to actually get into the ocean? And I always thought they were gonna be like, oh God, these guys again. And then they'd be like, oh hey, I'm glad you came back. Okay, well just do this. Or, you know,
Yeah.
it's so welcoming and kind, which is, I mean, not necessarily my experience in sports. So it was really that was also another
Yeah.
unique factor.
I mean, I didn't know how to paddle, and I'm like, so what do you do? Do you do this or you do? And they were there, and they were like offering their support and guidance. It was fantastic.
yeah, and it didn't matter who, like whoever you were next to.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe try scooting up, or hey,
Yeah.
don't bend your arm, or you know, whatever.
They all, I mean, that whole group is just amazing. And they actually said to us that they used to just show up to paddle and be like, all right, let's go for a paddle. And with us showing up, they knew that it was going to be exciting and fun. And they'd hear about all the things that they never hear.
Yeah.
But we talk about it all.
We brought the chaos.
We
We
talked
brought the
about it
chaos
all.
for them.
Lots of time
Yeah.
to talk on
Yeah.
these paddles. It's so great. I'm so glad you found each other, but also found the groups and have this whole paddling community.
But going back to what you said, like going that first time around Lido was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a big deal for us. I mean, just balancing on the board, figuring out what to do, and then I keep records of every single paddle I've done. How many hours, how many miles, and the pace. And looking back on those, we're like, we were at a 2.8. Oh my gosh! And then the first time you start going around and you're like at a 4. And I remember the first time I hit a 4 pace at a Wet Wednesday. Oh, I was beaming. I was just beaming. I couldn't believe I hit a 4, and I did it consistently the whole time.
Yeah.
And those are those little milestones that catch you through, and then you're like, okay.
Well, thank you guys. I mean, this also, going back as a reminder, 4 miles an hour, 30 miles is the goal within 4 or 5 months on a craft you've never been on. And to highlight, of the 94 people that paddled the Bend this year, we had 7 women. The average age of that whole 94 is probably close to 30, give or take, right?
Yeah.
Right in there.
Yeah.
The majority of people are surfers or lifeguards or some form of water person. Not a lot of people come out that have had no experience to go out. Again, you guys did so many things that are, I would say, unexpected and super fucking rad. Pardon my French. Like, so impressive to see what you guys did in a relatively short amount of time in the kind of the rest of the people that make up the group. Super, super neat.
And I think it's
it was
because
fun to watch
we
it.
had each
Yeah,
other.
for sure.
We
For sure.
had each other. You never prone alone.
Never.
No.
That's what-
And we had accountability. And if you did, like if I was in the bay on a Monday or something, like there, like occasionally you'd be, then you're texting, this is what I did. This is what, it's that accountability and
Yeah, and
people.
even if we didn't have time for a 2-hour paddle, it's like, well, what do you have time for? Even if we can get in the water for an hour,
Yeah.
an hour would be better than nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh, camaraderie goes a long way, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
talk about
huge.
some of the other, you just mentioned never prone alone. What other mantras do you guys have from part of the Vixen lexicon?
There's a lot.
3 is the enemy.
Yeah.
Talk about 3 is the enemy and 4 opens the door.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
You have to stay at a 4 mile per hour pace. I mean,
To
that's-
qualify.
To qualify, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we coined that one early on, right?
Yeah.
On one of those paddles when, hitting 4 and staying 4 for 8 hours is the goal. And when you're at 2.8 early on, you've got to work. And you have to qualify. So we're going to talk quickly about the qualifier. So there's an obligation because we're a water safety organization. Everybody has to qualify. So we have these qualifying paddles. Everybody had to do 3. They were usually 15 miles. We pushed it a little bit on a couple. And you have to be able to hang at a 4 mile an hour pace. And we had myself on my surf ski coming front to back. We had the Newport Beach lifeguard boat would come on some of them and keep an eye on everybody off the front and off the back. And it was really interesting, like running or anything else. It's hard to go 10% harder or slower than your natural pace. So if we're telling you to go harder all the time, you're going to blow up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got these 22-year-old world-class surfers and lifeguards off the front. We're telling them to go 4, and they're like a caged animal.
Yeah.
So we're trying to keep this really wide swath of people together and safe and all having fun. So it is a bit of a dance, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about the qualifying paddles. We don't have to talk about all of them, but like, what did it feel like maybe on the first one when you kind of figure out where you are against the pace, and you're like, I have a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
right?
So
And then you have a guy on a surf ski going, you have a lot of work to do. Is
Yeah,
this really what
maybe
you want to
next
do?
year.
So I want to say, first of all, 3 were required. The 4 of us, we said, we're doing them all.
We'll do all 6.
Why wouldn't
then
you
some.
do all
Yeah.
of them?
Yeah.
And, I think that's just our mindset. You said it at 3, well, we're doing more. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it got us.
Yeah, because we know we're gonna have to work harder. We're trying to
Yeah.
create something that we know is difficult. I mean, we like logically know that, but in our heart we know we're gonna do it. But you're just thinking like, okay, well, you're gonna have to like work harder than anybody that's
Yeah.
trying to do this
The
if
whole
you actually are
Our
gonna
whole-
succeed.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
felt that the whole time.
Yeah, our whole plan from the beginning is just as women coming into it, we knew we were going to have to make a lot of noise. We wanted to be noticed, like we're actually serious about doing this.
Yeah.
And so my first qualifier, I think it was maybe paddle, I don't know, 5 or 6 we were at that point.
Yeah, we weren't
And
very
I wasn't
deep into
feeling
it.
ready.
We almost didn't go. We were
Yeah.
like, oh, we're not ready. And
Yeah.
everyone's just like, oh, just show up. And we're like,
Yeah.
why not? We got to just dive in. Let's see where we are.
Yeah, so we did do it, and we got turned around at, I think, mile 10, and you had paddled up to me at one time and said, hey, Alyssa, if you're going to do this, you have to really grind. But if you can't get it done this year, there's always next year. And I remember thinking, oh,
Hell no.
oh no,
No,
you did
no.
not just say that
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
Like, thank you,
Yeah.
because now you will see me on the start line. I will get there, however.
Yeah. Or like when you're just trying to keep up. I mean, that one where you hit the 10, you're just like, or like only did 10 out of the 15. You're like, oh my God, I have so much work to do.
Yeah.
You're like grinding, you're like off the back, just like, oh. And like, thank God the Independents saved me one day. I'm like the last one back there and they were out there and you're just like, oh, okay, this is gonna, okay, yeah, that's fine. At least I got a boat next to me. I'm just, it's okay. It'll be better next time. And, or trying to get to that halfway where you could turn around in Laguna, just begging your body to get there, like, come on, just get to the break. You get to the break and you're like, I made it. And everyone goes and you're like, shoot, I don't have time to eat or refuel. Oh my God, I got to turn around. And you're just like shoving stuff on the fly, trying to paddle. There's so many that it's a total like mind fuck. You're just like, okay, I can do this, but I can't do this. I can do this. I can't do this. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna have to get used to doing this by myself because I'm off the back, the last one back here. I'm just gonna have to keep digging deeper and dig deeper. It's definitely from a psychological standpoint the challenge, and you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But then the one time that you do it and you start passing guys, you're like, come in like, I'm like, ooh, I actually made the break. I have time to eat.
Yeah.
I can hear what Spencer's saying this time on the break. I'm going and, woo, look at me pass somebody,
And one of those those qualifiers when you're not last.
Yes.
There was a couple qualifiers like, oh my gosh, there's like 3 people behind me. This is fantastic.
Yeah. When you're finally not the last person, you feel like you've made something.
And the thing is, you learn something new on every single qualifier.
Yes.
That's why if someone's new and starting out and has never done it, you have to do all those qualifiers, or maybe some big ones on your own because you talked about what am I going to eat. Each qualifier, it's like, okay, I'm going to eat this, and this. I'm going to see how I feel.
Yeah.
And then the next one, oh, I didn't like that.
Right.
Do I do tailwind or do I do
even
too
before,
wild?
like,
What do I
ate too much? Now I'm barfing.
Exactly. And so what can I eat? What can I not eat?
Yeah.
So you learn, and then some you feel great, and you're like, yeah. And then the next one, you're like, eating it, and you're like, what
even after the
happened?
one
What
that you felt
happened?
awesome, you're like, okay, I think I'm getting it, and then the next one you freaking tank. And
Something
you're like,
goes in your head or in your body. I remember the first time, I think it was the 3rd qualifier that I did, and I was feeling great. It was me and Penelope paddling together, and Penelope is 16 years old. She's, amazing. She's just like,
Penelope Bartow.
yes, Penelope Bartow.
and the
she,
cutest person.
She is
So
she's
sweet.
cute. And so it was me and her, and we made it to the break with the group. And, Spencer's getting out, everyone's sitting up, and he's kind of looking around, and he looks over, and he does that, like, oh. And when he sees me and Penelope there, I swear, I was like, yes. He saw me at the break. And I got the full break, and then the next one, qualifier, I was on a high after that. I'm like, oh, these next ones are no big deal. And the next one, I just tanked. And I was so sad again. I'm like, wait a minute, but the last one was so good.
Yeah.
You never know what the day's going to be like.
Yeah.
But that's sport.
Yeah.
I totally.
I mean, and it's, again, I think you keep nailing it. It's like every one of these paddles, every qualifier is a learning to get you towards doing 30 miles, right? Like, what do I eat?
Yeah,
Why did I
many
bonk
rehearsals.
this time? You reflect on it. What happened? What was different? Did I wear the right, like you're always learning in sports, especially this stuff, because it changes so much. And you talked about the El Morro Classic, which is a 16-mile paddle. Half is in the ocean, half is in the bay. And for the last 2 years, it's had really bad south wind, which means for the 4 miles, you're taking it straight in the face.
Yeah.
And on the way back, you're learning how to ride bump or not. So there's so much learning in this sport. And you guys, again, had to compress it all into this very small time frame and learn a lot very quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Can I ask you about your birthday qualifier?
Oh, yeah. That was
How was your
20
birthday?
Oh, okay,
How was your
so-
birthday qualifier?
Oh, yeah, well, I was puking the whole time.
Never fun on your birthday, usually for different reasons.
With a crown. I was puking with the happy birthday crown.
Yeah,
with
you
the
looked
princess
good.
crown
You
on.
still looked good.
Yes.
You were.
Yeah. But we finished it.
Yes.
We finished that thing.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
powered through. I give you huge kudos for that one.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've talked about training. We've talked about the qualifiers. Now we're going to talk about what all the lead up was for. We're going to talk about the event. So we're going to talk about the Ben Carlson paddle. But oftentimes these paddles, it's more than just the event. There's the lead up to it. How are you guys, let's talk about the event, but how are you guys the week before, the day before, and when you're going over to the island preparing to paddle back on that day? Was it nerve-wracking?
It
Was
was
it
super. I think we had a lot of excitement.
Yes.
Like by then,
Yes.
after that 20 miler, after your birthday extravaganza, that was really difficult. But the 20 mile overall, I mean, she still like just dug deep and still did 20 miles barfing like the entire time, like sick as a dog. And then all of us, we learned, how do you support through that? What do you do? Oh my gosh, how do we manage this situation? And again, every single one was like these dress rehearsals, but I feel like after that, we all felt like, okay, well, we're ready.
think relaxed.
Like relaxed is a really good way.
Energetic
Yeah.
and relaxed.
I mean, excited, like almost like, okay, let's just, now we're like, come on, hurry up and TikTok, let's
Yeah.
go.
It's
When are we
so
starting?
joyful, yeah.
You know, and there's so much fun, like the way over, everyone, like we're following each other in boats and just being silly and having a good time.
I remember too, everyone's telling, because we've never done this, people are giving you tips, this and that. And so the week before the bend, don't paddle, just rest. And we do an easy wet Wednesday with Mikey. He decided to do an easy one. And that's on Wednesday. So we're paddling our little easy paddle. And Alyssa's like, okay, guys, I really think should we do 8 miles tomorrow? Just one more 8 miler. And I'm like, no. She goes, what about 6? I go, no.
None.
We're not going to paddle at all. We're going to rest.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
That's hard for me to
It
do.
was just like, so
Yeah.
it's,
It was really
it's
hard
addicting.
to,
Yeah.
after gunning so
Yeah.
hard for so long, to pull the horses back.
Yeah.
You're like, I just checking myself. Oh, it's Monday. Well, maybe I should just do a quick 5. I'm like, no, don't do a quick 5. Walk away. Don't even look at your board.
But how cool that you can even consider going to do a quick 5.
Yeah, we're totally.
Quick 5.
What a difference.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is such a good point.
Yes.
A quick 5.
Yes.
Oh.
That's a really good point.
And that's like a fun paddle now.
Yeah.
It's
Even a qualifier sounds awesome now.
Yeah. I know.
Like a qualifier before is like your bowels are just letting go 50 times before you even leave the beach. You're dying. Sorry, too much information, but it's the
that's
truth.
part of it.
And if
Yeah.
you really want to do it, you're gonna need to know the
I'm
reality.
gonna say, thank goodness we start the qualifiers at headquarters.
Yeah,
Because
amen
there's
for
a
that bathroom.
There's a bathroom.
Oh, but it's true. Your nerves are on, and you're gonna have to dig so deep, and it's gonna be hard. And then now looking back after all of this, hindsight's always glorious. But you're like, oh, I'll take a qualifier. Like I'm kind of excited for next year
I
to
know.
get on a qualifier and see what happens from a different perspective.
Exactly.
I just can't wait to see you guys smash half the people out there next year.
That's happening.
Because that is going to happen.
Next year we're coming
I
back
know
for
it
a
will.
vengeance. Now we
For
know.
sure.
Now we know what we're in for.
Well, and the
Practice
first
run.
year is also, and we're going to talk about the event right now. The first year, it's a big learning. But after you've done it once, again,
Yeah.
ignorance is sometimes bliss.
Yes.
Because you still never know what you're going to get. But
Yeah.
really understanding you guys have done the base building. Now you get to do the fun stuff, which is like, let's go push it. Let's learn more. Let's go longer. Let's feel better about
Yes.
You've done all that formative stuff. And now you have a year to really
Yeah.
dial it
So
in.
we take the training wheels off now.
yeah.
Honey,
that's right.
you took them off before you crossed that channel. Trust me. Okay, so let's talk about that. So I'll frame it, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. So the way it works is we have an event the night before. Everybody's together at the restaurant in Avalon on Catalina Island. Talk about safety, talk about the day, but talk about the motivation, what it's going to be about, and how we're going to do it. It's always cool to have everybody together. Then we all disappear, try to get a good night's sleep if at all possible, and then we're up at the crack because we're checking in at 5:30, and we're taking off at first light at like 6:15. If you've ever been to Avalon, little city or little town on Catalina, it's right at the Green Pier, and the bell goes off at about 6:15. Not a race, so it's very different. And we all just meander out. There's some great video, which I'll share,
so
of
cool.
everybody going out. It's first light, so it's dark. It's all the lights of the island, lights of the boat, hoots and hollers and yips galore from
Yeah.
96, 94 paddlers. I forget the final count. And then we're off for an 8-hour adventure across the ocean, not knowing what you're even going to get as soon as you leave Avalon Harbor.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So we take off. How does it feel to leave the beach? And then let's just talk about what that day was like to you. To start, who wants to start?
Yeah.
I mean, I left the beach excited.
Oh, yeah.
I did not leave the beach apprehensive or nervous. I was just excited. I couldn't wait to get into it.
Yeah.
And I purposefully wasn't looking at, the conditions, this and that, because they are what they are.
Yeah.
You don't want to set yourself up for, oh, it's going to be great today, or, oh, the winds are this and that.
Right.
So I was just excited to go and full of adrenaline, and we just went off. And
Yeah.
it feels like a dream.
Yeah.
Like now, you get, first of all the guys, you're supposed to take off easy. And they did not take off.
They're like,
And so you try and keep up, and you've got that excitement, and then you just settle in. That's the thing. You just
Yeah.
settle in.
yeah, here we go.
Here we are.
Yeah. Elation and excitement. I mean, that was just it on the beach. I'm like, I felt prepared. I felt ready. I'm like, I tuned out all noise of I walked out on our boat and felt wind and was like, okay, well, whatever. Put your head down. We're doing it. There's no turning back, and you're ready. We've trained in all kinds of conditions, and The only thing it was elation and amazement. It was fun. That takeoff was awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and the lights were twinkling, and
Oh,
all
yeah.
the people in the harbor are, wishing you well and
Yeah.
yelling, and it was just,
It's super like caring.
it
and
was
fun.
emotional. As you can tell, I get emotional very easily.
It's a good thing.
Only
It's a good
emotional
quality.
one. But yeah, it was like magical. It was like,
It
we're
was.
doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
great.
we made it. I felt like
Yeah.
we made it. Like, oh my gosh, can't believe it. We did it.
Yeah. I too, I was excited I felt prepared. I felt ready. I was just ready for the experience that I had heard everybody have. And when we took off, I went dark pretty early on. Like for me, I found out during this whole experience, I'm freaking competitive. Like I don't like to feel left behind. Or feel like I'm failing at something. And it was the first time for me that I was in the back, and it's a very different place to be mentally. I was like, I can't get up there, I can't. And I immediately just went into panic and spiraled down. And Alice stayed with me, and Mikey stayed with me, and Nathan Fox stayed with me. And they were like, Alyssa, get back in this, and it took a little bit, and I had to like have my little tantrum, and I got back.
Yeah.
But it would come and it would go. I would go back into that dark place of like, you can't do this, like you're gonna fail at this, all the things. And then we did it. And I was like, I overcame that negative chat in my head, that dark neighborhood. The neighborhood is very dark sometimes. The playground is not nice. And I needed that. Like, I really needed that. But all of the girls, like, that's the part of this is like we all come around each other. Alice is a saint. Through so many of these qualifiers, she'll stay with the back person. Where it's like, Alice, you're not back there. That's not, you're up there. And she just takes ego out of it, and she will stay with the back person. No matter what.
Yep.
Even though she knows that she can be up there with everybody else. And we all we wouldn't have done this without each other for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Because if it wasn't you, it isn't any one of us.
Yeah.
I mean, can happen, and that happened to me in qualifiers. We all you're that person at some point during the day, during that same day, even on the bend. Like you're not. It's not all yay, it's roses the whole time. There's a lot of challenges out there
For everyone.
Yes.
And that's probably what you learned. I don't care who you are. If you were the guys in the front, there was a couple guys that are just hammers, and they'd just done the classic, and they're lifeguard, and it was a cruise. It was fun. Most people, regardless of gender, skill, or age, had periods of going dark, of elation, tons of fun. Oh my God, I just hit the wall. What do I do? Like, that is any endurance sport.
Yeah.
But out there, so talk quickly about the conditions and how that affected you.
I did not expect it to be so cold.
Yeah.
That just is one thing that didn't come into play. And so once again, it's a learning curve. I'll be so much more prepared next year with what I wear, and maybe wearing a wetsuit that I can take off if I get hot. Because I remember in asking people's advice in the beginning, so what do you wear? And you wear what, wetsuits? And they're like, oh no, it'd be too hot. And so I wore what I always wear on my training paddles in the harbor or just along the coast, and it was really cold.
What made it cold?
The wind.
The wind in your face.
Yes.
And when you paddle a prone paddleboard and you're 4 inches off the water,
Yeah, you're just getting annihilated by the
it's
water.
it is in your face the whole time. It's over you.
You're just getting
wet.
You're just getting tossed around, and you're wet. You're windy. And I wore the whole time from the very beginning paddling all the way to the end. I wore the same thing. I'm always freezing. So I'm like, I'm not wearing shorts. You guys are crazy. I always wore my wetsuit pants, and then I had the windshield, the Florence windshield. And it always did me well. And we had some tough paddles during training too, where the wind's at you and you're just kind of getting annihilated. And I still felt like, I felt comfortable enough to keep going, to not feel like, I need to figure out another route. On the day of the bend, it was colder. It was, I don't know. Whatever it was just something I had not experienced yet. And that was the biggest challenge. Like physically, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I feel strong. I feel like I can do this, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to get medic for hypothermia right about now.
Well, I saw you
It
at
was
the
terrible.
halfway. So we'll talk about the halfway, and you guys can fill in the blanks with your overall experience. But so it was breezy and choppy, not terrible, but it was definitely cold. And everybody was cold.
Even my husband and son were like, they were freezing.
Because
I
you're
saw
not going
videos of
that
them.
fast or that hard, but you're
Right.
just wet the whole time.
Yeah.
But I saw you at the halfway point, and you had gotten another layer
I had
on,
a whole nother wetsuit over my original stuff.
and you had warmed up a bit.
Yes, and I had my hood on. So by then I had warmed up. Mile 10, these girls like saved me. Like this again, like she talked about being dark and needing people. Well, like for me, I'm like, I'm gonna get mediced out because I am freezing. My lips are blue. I am shaking.
Purple.
And now I'm like, okay, not only has my fuel plan gone to crap because you're blowing through so many more calories while you're freezing like that. And I'm just trying, I'm like, I got to shovel in more because I'm not going to be able to physically keep going if I can't get more calories. Like
Good thing
the
for
whole
those pancakes.
calculation.
Yep.
Yeah, thank God for her
Pancakes.
power pancakes. Paddle cakes.
I made some blueberry pancakes in anticipation for the Ben. I made a whole batch of them, and they became our paddle cakes
They
and our
were
saviors.
saviors.
They were so dang good.
Saviors.
Paddle cakes.
So I mean, at mile 10, we hopped on the back of our boat, and the boards are over us, and they had the heat, you know, the shower, the warm shower, and it's like pouring over. These girls are like the whole kitten thing came out of that experience. I'm like, she's piled over us. I got a leg over me. Everyone's just body heating, trying to warm me up because it was definitely
Yeah, you were
dangerous
definitely
time.
Yeah.
It was not
hypothermic,
good,
right?
And yeah, it was really
Wow.
pretty scary. And Brittany, thank God, Team Mom, she's like, put this on, it'll fit you. And she's like this big. I'm like, I don't even care. I'm shoving this on, and everyone's squishing me into this. And you know, I hadn't used the hood of my
Oh my
thing.
gosh.
And I'm like, Brittany, I feel like I just need like a beanie cap. Do you have a beanie cap? And she's like, put on your hood. I'm like, oh my God, duh. Put that on. So the second bodysuit, the hood. Then from 10 to 15, I was like, oh, thank God.
And it warmed up at that point.
Yeah,
Oh,
it did.
started
It
to,
warmed
started
up a
to.
hair, but just being able to not be freezing, that was my like terrible. That moment was my, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But then from 15 on, it was really fun.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, woo! I finally took my hood off at 25. It took me that long to warm up, but at mile 25, hood's off, extra wetsuits off, and the last 5, I'm like skipping home.
And those hoods, when we were at Florence buying our rash guards, and I'm like, well, I'll never use this hood. And she's like, Alice, put your hood up. And I put it on. I'm like, I don't care how stupid I
Oh,
look.
yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh,
know.
this
I'm
hood
like a paddling
saved
condom.
us.
I look great. I just don't
we were
care.
like little seals.
Yeah.
Like,
All our hoods on.
exactly, it was so good. I didn't even care.
Well,
I
in
was
a lot of
just
ways,
to get warmer.
comfort over distance equals speed. Or in this case, comfort over distance equals completion.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, for sure. There's
Right.
no way I would have finished if I didn't have you guys to like jump on me, warm me up, give me a warm shower,
And paddle cakes.
and paddle
Yeah,
cakes,
exactly.
tons of extra calories, and then just throwing stuff on. I wouldn't have made it. There's no way.
What a huge education for everybody.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's hard. I always say the channel is amazing, but it's hard even in the best of conditions, and it can get really, really hard.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's never easy when you're doing 30 miles of paddling. It doesn't matter. And you always see many faces. So we get to the halfway point. Did anybody partake in the halfway celebration okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Give a
did.
quick overview of what we did at halfway.
Perimeter.
Well, so everyone gathers up, and Spencer talks about Ben, and we, take a moment to really honor like why we're there. The whole reason we're there is because of Ben Carlson, and to bring everybody together and have a moment of reflection and dive down, which I think Ben would have been proud of me. I decided to only dive to here because I was still really cold, and I'm like, well, he doesn't want me getting colder and then having to get mediced out, so I'll just go from here. But I hope next year I hope I can be warm enough to really dive down, because I mean, just that experience, but even just being out there, you're in the middle of the channel. It's
peaceful.
Like, it is.
And when they
Yeah.
say open your eyes, they kind of people said what they did before, so I knew what to expect. And they said you go down and you open your eyes, and I
Yeah.
thought, am I really going to open my eyes?
Did you?
And I
Yeah.
opened my eyes, and it was just bliss. It was
Yeah.
pure peaceful bliss. You're surrounded by all these people, but you felt like you were the only one.
Yeah.
It was really,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Right?
It's super
And that's why we
powerful.
do it.
Yeah.
And it's almost
very
like our own
spiritual
little
moment.
crossing the equator. It's our own little celebration. So you're taking a moment for yourself, for Ben, for the reason we're out there. And it's also, as Spencer said, you probably can't see land on either side. You are
Yeah.
dead. I mean, and I will always say, anybody that's paddled that channel, once you've done that and you're on the beach with your family or you're in an airplane or taking the flyer across, you'll never look at it the same way again.
Yeah.
And it becomes a bit of a magical like appreciation for what you have done,
For sure. You
which is
think, like,
rad.
These little arms.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it
You
done.
did it.
That's it.
You did it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So we stop every 5 miles. We just talked about the mid-channel little celebration, and then we keep going. And the conditions cleared up, and it got beautiful
so
for a while,
fast
which
off for a
changes
while.
everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Glassy and warm
Yeah.
and fun.
Yeah.
And then we're going to jump all the way ahead. We stop at the final 5 miles out, and then we stop a mile out. Let's go from there. Talk about we stop at a mile out. You're looking at the pier. You can see everybody.
Yeah.
And then we paddle in as a group. Talk about the last mile, that last, knowing you got there,
Yeah.
and that last mile, and then hitting the beach, and what the finish was like for you. Whoever
Yeah.
wants to start.
Aw,
I
Alyssa.
love it.
It was like, first of all you could see now finally the pier. Because
Yeah,
we kept going,
you could
wait,
hear.
do you
Yeah.
see, I just want to see the lighthouse. Just show me the lighthouse. No, wait, I can actually see the pier. And to be at that mile and to look at all of us and, other paddlers around us, it was just like, and to know those paddlers around you too. That was the other thing.
Yeah,
Because we
it was
really made some amazing friendships out there. And, but to look at that pier and see all these people like there, like,
Yeah.
wait, there was signs, there was VESL Vixens.
1,000 people probably at the finish this year.
Yeah,
lot of
I'd
people.
say.
And it's right at Newport Pier. Newport Beach Lifeguard Headquarters is right there. That's the Benjamin M. Carlson Lifeguard Headquarters, and the Ben Carlson Memorial Statue is right there too. So we strategically finish right at, the Ben Carlson Legacy Zone.
Yeah.
And there was probably 1,000 people
Oh, yeah,
there
it
this
was
year. It was
packed.
incredible.
It was incredible.
And my boys had waited for it. Like, I thought these girls were like, hey, where's your family? I'm like, they're for sure on the beach. Are you kidding me? And they're like, no, there's your family.
Yeah.
And I look, I'm like, oh my gosh.
They're
So
right
they
next to it.
came in with us. And Noah, who was on support, jumped in the boat. And then he got a ride in from B-Ride, which was awesome. They're like, and then it was like, okay, let's go. And we all paddled in and had that, had an amazing,
looking at each other
we had
like,
an amazing discount from the ocean. You should play that on your videos.
And
You
my,
could hear-
my son was support on a different boat for 4 other lifeguards, and he's like, I want to swim in with you. And, just having him be on the boat and seeing me out there was awesome. But then when he wanted to swim in with me,
Yeah,
it was cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing the
Ah,
crowds.
yes.
Just the hearing the crowds. You're like, oh my gosh. And then you're just paddling in and you're just on a high. And then you start hearing, Keri, VESL Vixens. And you're like,
Yeah.
they're calling for me.
I'm like, oh my gosh, are they saying VESL
Yes,
Vixens?
yes, I know.
Like they are. Oh my gosh, there's a sign. What the heck?
And
Yeah.
then our biggest thing all through training was going in and out of surf.
Oh,
If
God.
it wasn't for the Prones Brigade group, like they're like, all right, this time it like this, da da da. They helped us so many times in and out. And one of my biggest fears of the Ben was coming in.
You same.
Yep.
I'm like, how am I going to get
getting,
through those waves?
these waves.
With all
And-
these people staring at
watching
you.
us.
yeah, and at that time, there was no thought
You just-
at
it mind
all of the
erased.
waves. We're hearing everyone yelling and screaming, and we're
You actually kind of
paddling.
forgot about the waves.
Yeah, I know.
We were looking at the pier and all of a sudden
We
here comes the
shouldn't
wave.
have.
No, we shouldn't have.
So what happened?
We had some really good wipeouts.
Yeah.
I
All
was
of
just
us
like a
got
hair
lost.
ahead, and I was like, do, and then I looked back and see a wave coming, and all of them on it. I'm like, like shove my board forward and just prepare for impact.
I just grabbed my board. I bear hugged it and rolled with the.
The video is pretty funny.
Yeah,
it's
let's just say it was less than graceful.
yeah, we didn't have a
But it was
graceful
a way
end.
for
No,
us to
Yeah,
but
it was
actually was
perfect
pretty
for
funny.
us.
It was a very loud exit
Yes.
of the ocean,
Yeah.
which was pretty much right on
So
par.
great.
Yeah,
It was fun.
It was really funny.
And what kind of love did you get on the beach from?
Oh my gosh. It was overwhelming.
Yes.
It was.
It was really mind blowing. Like
Surreal.
just it was like a wild experience.
Yeah.
Like we knew, like we took a moment too to take a beat for the
Yes.
4 of us because we had so many friends and family that were there that we knew we were going to be there. But we were like, okay, we hit the beach, and we said that when we hit the beach, we have to find each other 1st. And so that's like we really were like instantly just
Yeah, we were just
like, we were just like,
yeah.
up and, we did it! You know? It was like, That feeling, I don't even know that there's a word for it, honestly. It was just like to have accomplished that, but with people that you've grown to just absolutely love and count on. And then our families and everybody. I mean, I don't know what the words are.
Alyssa said it, a few weeks back. She goes, instant friends, just add water.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Instant friends,
Instant
just add
friends.
water.
And
That's right.
like, I feel like I've known you guys for years.
Yes.
And it's been months.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the water a lot. There's hours. We're talking like, so what about this? What about that? I know about lives and kids and husbands
And aside from that, it's that deep emotional
goes
state,
deep into
that psychological, emotional, you're like, and whether it's something that you're going through in the moment, trying to like just keep moving forward, or something from your past that has come and smacked you in the face while you're in that dark moment, and you're just, it's a lot, it's heavy, so much stuff comes out there.
And there were times too where, sometimes I feel like, well, I just met this person, and I'm like, something's wrong with Ericka. Ericka's not doing good.
Yeah.
Like you could feel there was a day at Wet Wednesday when Alyssa walked up and she wasn't all bubbly and and I like something's wrong with Alyssa. I went and gave her a big hug and she just said, I'm not doing good today. But instantly we just felt that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that helped all of us get through.
And we always had fun when we were on that boat, shivering under
So true.
All our towels were wet at that point, and we
board
had
cover.
a board
We were
cover,
using a board cover.
a moldy vessel board cover, and we were just all under it, eating our little paddle cakes, shivering, and we were just like, "This is so awesome!"
Oh my God. And
this
then I
is
was
so
like,
awesome.
oh my God, you guys, what is happening? And then you're like, we're just here for the PR. And then we all just start laughing. I'm like, oh God, that's so true. Like, okay, all right. And then it's like, the horn goes. I was like,
both back in, let's go.
Let's go. Like, jump back in. Try and make it happen.
I mean, that's how cold it was. We got on the boat for the break
It
because
was,
we just had to get out of the water.
otherwise it was called the medic. I mean, there's just no way.
The brakes are really hard for everybody. I hate brakes because once you stop, you get cold.
Yes.
When I'm doing, I never stop. Because otherwise you get cold. So that was really wise.
Yeah.
Shoot, I forgot where I was going to go. I just love the whole story. Here's where I was going to go. The reality is this: if everything had gone off perfectly, and it was easy and lovely, and it was all unicorns and rainbows, like, you wouldn't have a lot of these stories, a lot of these memories. It's the stuff that's super tough that makes it super memorable. You'll always remember the 9.0, not only because you did it, not only because you did it together, but you're going to remember the wet towels and the sub hypothermia and the paddle cakes. And like, that's what makes these things so amazing. It's not just the paddling, it's everything else that's a part of it.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, 100%.
I could say too, it happened at mile 20 for me, and it's happened a few times in my life. The big moments, my marriage, the birth of my 2 kids, climbing Kilimanjaro, Whitney, where at mile 20, I got all choked up and teary-eyed, and I was like, it's almost over.
Yeah.
It's almost over. You train so hard, you think about it so hard, everything. And even though it was hard and you were in the thick of it, I was sad that it was gonna end. And I just pulled myself in and just said, just take it in, enjoy it.
Yeah. Be in that moment.
Be in the moment right here and right now. And I felt like I was in the moment the whole time. And there are bits and ways, but that 20-mile mark where it's sadness. Like you think, oh, I should be in the pain cave. I should be, doubting while I'm doing this. And I'm like, no, this is where I should be. And I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
And
Do you remember the conversation we had on one of the qualifiers where I said, all right, you guys, you're going to do this thing. What's next? And you're like, what's next? I was like, you got to have something else. When you've got this type of goal, you have to have a what's next, or you end up in this kind of like postpartum-y feel of, I'm already sad and I'm not even done yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I already heard it, 10.0.
10.0.
Yeah.
We're on for 10.0.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Again, and it's out there. You've let everybody know.
For everybody who wants to come, we want to help people do it. I mean, we want
that's already
to
happening.
like envelop the community even more. And I mean, male or female, it doesn't matter. I mean, I was talking to some kids on the Newport Harbor surf team this morning. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. Well, I was thinking I might want to do that. I'm like, well, come to the next one. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, come use our paddle boards. Like, try it out. Like, I just want to take anybody under the wing that wants to do it. It's such a great way to give to our community, number one. And it's just so cool to, like, now that we're on the backside of it, to be able to, like, okay, who else can we help to have this experience?
So 2 points, and we were talking offline earlier. This is a bit of a PSA because anybody that comes in and says, I want to do it, you're going to say, watch the podcast, because we've now shined a big light on the reality of paddling the Ben Did Go and that channel. You never know what you're going to get. It's long, it's hard, it's cold, it's whatever. So this will be, and everybody's going to have to qualify. So it's wonderful. And it's going to continue to get bigger. I mean, this year we had 94, 96 paddlers. I can't remember. But do you know what fundraising we're at right now? We're a hair under our goal of $250,000.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And I know we'll continue to poke through. And anybody that wants to support it, we'll certainly provide that in their bencarlsonfoundation.org. Reflections. What now? We're a few weeks past. Anything?
I almost feel like I haven't digested it yet. I almost feel like it's somebody else's life. I was kind of like, like, you know, like until someone goes, oh, you're a Vixen? Oh, you did that? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am. But it hasn't totally hit me yet, except for knowing that I want to keep doing it. And like figuring out, okay, guys, what do we do? I mean, on that Sunday after the band, I was like, well, sunset paddle sounds kind of nice. On Monday, you're like, let's get in the water. You know, we're back in the water. We're back in the water Wednesday, back in the water for the weekend. It's like, it kind of continues, but I feel like also because life is busy, right? We didn't have time yet to just be like, okay, like it'd be really, we should just go sit on the beach and look at Catalina and reflect. Like I feel like we need to still do that.
We're gonna have a Santa Ana day come up soon when Catalina is as clear as possible.
Yeah.
Go have a glass of wine, go sit on the beach.
That's when we need to do it.
And really, really look at that island differently than you ever have.
I had a reflection. I just this past week finally put the Ben Did Go sticker on my car. And I told Keri, I said, I put the sticker on my car. And I said, I didn't do it previously because I received that sticker at the very first meeting at VESL, anybody interested in doing it. And I put that sticker on, and I didn't do it before because I didn't want to feel like a poser. I hadn't done it. And I told Keri that, and Keri's like, no, I did put it on my car
immediately
right as I got it. So it would hold me accountable that I'm going to do this. And I'm like,
I love it.
I was so excited to go out and put that sticker on my car, and I was just like a badge of.
What about your Ben Did Go pendant from Slightly Choppy?
That is hanging in my office. I love it.
Your official paddler pendant from Slightly Choppy.
And then the first time I wore my paddler T-shirt to Trader Joe's, I think I was walking a little bit taller.
I love the pants.
That's right. I'm a paddler.
As you should.
Strutting through.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Trader Joe's.
Listen, I am so proud of you guys. It was so cool for me to watch you where you started. I didn't see you at the very beginning, but I saw you shortly thereafter.
That was pretty beginning.
And we got to spend a fair bit of time talking on these paddles because I was the one trying to make sure you were going to be safe to do it. You know, I give you incredible kudos for grinding through, doing all the hard work, all the lessons, all the interconnections you've made. Certainly just the 4 of you, but with everybody else that you've talked about. You guys are a really great face for the Ben Did Go and the Ben Carlson Foundation, and we're so grateful for your engagement, and you guys have done incredible family and individual fundraising. Your feeds on VESL Vixen on Instagram is awesome. It's been really cool to watch how you've been kind of not only enveloped by, but a very driving part of the paddleboard community in Orange County, certainly in Newport. So just thank you. And while I'm saying thank yous, I do want to thank the Ben Carlson Foundation, the Ben Did Go and Spencer for creating it, Rob Williams, who's the other one on the paddle committee. We were blessed to have the Newport Beach lifeguards all the way across with us. We had the Huntington guards across with us. We had BRAG, the Big Wave Risk Assessment
amazing.
Group, which on their skis, which were incredible. That was our first time with them. And so many other sponsors with Florence and others and Mikey, you've talked about it. He's branded all over. Mikey Roberts with VESL Paddleboard. So just an incredible group and an incredible event. And we're super grateful that you guys, I'm so proud of you.
Well, we're so grateful for the opportunity. I mean, we feel like we're so full. I think if anything, gratitude's a pretty strong word that we would all agree. It's having people like you and Spencer and Rob and the whole foundation supporting us being able to get out there and having the opportunity to do it. It was humongous.
One thing I wanted to say really quick is just, I knew about this paddle a couple of years previous, and for some reason, well, there is a reason why I did it now. It was just, I found out so much more about who I am, and I still had some lessons to learn and some work to do, internal lessons or like growth I needed to do, and this was the time for me to do it, and I got a lot of healing from doing this. So, I mean, it's just incredible. Some of these journeys you go on, you don't know why you do them or what's going to come of it, and I got a lot of healing done out there, and I'm beyond grateful for that.
Awesome.
For
Well,
sure.
there's no doubt of all of the paddlers, the four of you probably dug the deepest with the most energy and positivity. There was we wanted you guys to qualify so bad because you've been so driven and determined and passionate and fun and like just a great representation of what we want the Ben Carlson Foundation and the Ben Did Go to be part of the community. And you guys were great kind of figureheads for that. So thank you, and I'm super proud of you. And I'm so glad we got to do this today. So what's the final? Let's do the final. What's the final call sign for the VESL Vixens?
Oh, yeah.
We'll do the final.
Okay.
Oh,
We got
well,
this.
Okay.
We got this.
And then let's do the
Yes.
yip yip. 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
All right. We're out. Thank you, ladies.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So fun. Come here, my kittens. Get over here. Oh.